Hello and welcome on into the PHFL NFL podcast, our conference championship review, which hopefully we don't have to review one of the games too much, as the two Packers fans. We don't really want to talk about that game, but
I'll talk about it.
Joined as always by Kai and by Mikey. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome in.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Kai's a lot happier than me and Mikey this week. I don't know why. I mean, this team didn't even make the playoffs. But
I mean, my dad walked into the room while I was watching the Packers game, saying, "When are the Eagles playing this weekend?" And I just had to tell him that it was well past the point where the Eagles were still playing.
Exactly. The last time the Eagles were relevant was, when did you win that Super Bowl?
2018.
That was the last time you were relevant. So,
Yeah.
Two games to talk
Anyway.
about this week. Exactly. Two games
Someone who's
to talk
staying
about.
relevant.
Yes, exactly. We'll talk about that one then first, will we? The NFC Conference Championship game. Tampa Bay beating the Green Bay Packers 31 points to 26. I must say, even though I was a Packers fan and we lost the game, I did still enjoy watching the game. Sorry, I've disowned them.
You're wearing a Rams jersey.
Yes, I know. I needed to find something that I was happy to cry into. But yeah, I'd say I did enjoy watching the game. I thought it was actually a good game. There was a lot of excitement in it, even though
Unfortunately, all the wrong way.
The Packers unfortunately lost. Mikey, I don't know about you, but I think the person to blame for this loss is Aaron Rodgers. Do you agree with me?
Evan King.
Yeah, I think at the end of the game there was 2, 3, 4 people that I was very angry at, but I think now that I've cooled off and all the tears have been wiped away, I think, and it pains me to say it because he's the reason we're in this championship game, is Aaron Rodgers for sure. Yeah, the one thing that just keeps sticking out to me like a sore thumb is before Tom Brady threw any of his picks, Rodgers, he was playing okay maybe the first quarter, and then he was having a bit of struggles midway through the game, and you see him on the sidelines mouthing "make a stop." He kept saying "make a stop" to the defense, and then they go out and they get an interception, and then Devontae Adams scores off it, perfect, and then you think the momentum's all with Green Bay in Lambeau, and then they make another stop, and then they make another stop. Jair Alexander had 2 picks, and nothing came of him. Nothing. I know there's many other things you could say. I know Kevin King had a horrific game, Matt LaFleur's decision at the end of the game, but yeah, to me this is, if you're telling your defense to get a stop, you're saying, if you get a stop, I'm going to win you this game, and he didn't do that. So yeah, I hate to say it, but I do think this one is on Aaron Rodgers.
The reason I say it, Kai, I know you were perhaps slightly confused when I mentioned this, but at the end of the third quarter, it was 28-23 to Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay then, start of the fourth quarter, there's an interception, and Green Bay go 3 and out and punt the ball. And then Tampa Bay, that next possession, throw an interception. And Green Bay go 3 and out again. There was 2 drives there where there's a chance where we're just 5 points behind for Rodgers to go and do something. And he doesn't do it in either of those times. The first time, we actually end up losing 5 yards on the first drive where we go 3 and out, and then we don't do anything at all in the second drive. And I know that you can say that's receivers or play calling or whatever, but realistically, that is the quarterback's job, is to make those plays, especially someone of Rodgers' experience. And I think that is where we lost the game. Though, yes, there were some questionable defensive plays and decisions, possibly, especially at the end of the first half, when for some reason...
What on earth was that?
For some reason, we did not drop into coverage. We played man coverage with one covering safety, and they end up scoring a touchdown at the end. Yeah, but there was still the opportunity here for Rodgers to go and win the game at this stage, and they didn't do that. There was also then the discussions over whether that field goal at the end was right for us to kick the field goal. Personally, I wouldn't have kicked the field goal, but I could completely understand why Matt LaFleur and maybe the analytics suggest do kick the field goal, because the 2-point, even if you had scored a touchdown, the 2-point conversion wasn't a guarantee, especially the way that we've been playing in the red zone. I think he targeted Devontae Adams 7 times in the red zone, and there was only 1 completion. So we weren't playing well in the red zone. But in my opinion,
that was
Rodgers is to blame. If you can blame somebody, to blame for that loss, unfortunately.
that was something I was going to say there as well. On the final drive, on the 3rd and goal, he tried to force it to Devontae Adams, and I think we've all seen that there was quite a lot of space. Even as Kai said on Sunday night, even if he didn't get the touchdown, we would have been maybe on the 1, 2, 3 yard line for a 4th and goal, which maybe would have spurred us on to do it. But also, I just feel we always say that the Green Bay Packers are too heavily reliant on Aaron Rodgers. But I thought in this game, Aaron Rodgers was too reliant on Devontae Adams. He was trying to force him the ball in situations where there was other people open. On the 3rd and goal, in the last drive of the game, Alan Lazard was wide open, and he tried to feed it to Devontae Adams.
He threw the ball over
Alan
Alan Lazard, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yep. And this is another thing, as we said about the defense. If we had won this game, I wouldn't have been praising Aaron Rodgers or the offense. I would have been praising the defense for the way that they came up clutch in some really big moments. I know they had a lot of mistakes, Scotty Miller touchdown and the Mike Evans touchdown, and obviously the flag at the end of the game. But I think as a whole, if we'd won this game, we are praising this defensive side because they made 3 stops. They pressured Tom Brady. They were forcing him into making mistakes. Kenny Clark, I thought, had a great game as well. So yeah, it's just one of those where, yeah, the single greatest American footballer of all time has prevailed, even though I actually don't think he had the best of games. But I think, again, Kai said the other day, if Tom Brady's thrown 3 picks, 99 times out of 100, you're winning that game.
Well,
but
you say
it
that.
just wasn't meant to be.
You say that, but I saw the statistic regarding that. Apparently, there's been 4 playoff games when Tom Brady has thrown 3 picks, and he's won 3 of those 4 games.
Well,
so even when he throws picks, somehow he still wins to win the game.
It's not even as if he threw 3 picks throughout the game. He threw them all in the second half. When one of the greatest quarterbacks ever has thrown 3 picks in one half of football, you're forcing them into those situations. You need to capitalise on it. You need to capitalise on it. And I know you said you would be praising the defence, and folk would go, oh, well, but all those plays, the 3 you mentioned, there's a common denominator in all them, and it's that boy Kevin King, who just had an absolute car crash of a game.
Yeah.
But he was got out a hole on defence by, as you've said, Kenny Clark, Jair Alexander, the pressure from elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, that 3rd and goal, when we were talking about just get Aaron Rodgers to run, see, even if you don't convert the 4th and goal, they're on the 1 or 2 yard line. They're almost in their own end zone. Force them into a 3 and out and get them to punt and get the ball back. At least then you've put a bit of effort in or tried to do something with it. Now, I know obviously then you're 3 points worse off than you would have been, and you're having to try and get a touchdown and a field goal. But either way, you're... Aye. So why not go for it there and then give yourself the time at the end rather than having to go the other way about? And I think, like you've both said, and I think as everyone's alluded to, I think decision making was the biggest part of this game, and I think it was wrong on many occasions on the Packers' side of the ball.
If you just look at the statistics of this game, I'm just looking at the final stats. Total first downs, Packers had 4 more total first downs than the Buccaneers. Time of possession.
The Bucks don't convert in first down. They wait until 3rd and then convert it.
Like total getting to first downs. Just there was less first downs for the Bucks to actually start plays. Time of possession, Green Bay had the ball for 10 minutes longer in the game. They had it for nearly 35 minutes, and the Bucks only had it for 25 minutes. If you looked at those statistics, just without knowing the score, you'd go, all right, well, that team, the Packers would have won this game, and we haven't because we've just not converted where we had to convert. It was very, very disappointing, to be honest. Looking at the statistics, I must say, I think we might have missed Aaron Jones when he went out injured in the second half. Though AJ Dillon and Jamal Williams played well, I think Rodgers quite likes Jones being there, if I'm being honest, and I think we kind of suffered with that. I think the second receivers, we've had this conversation all season, haven't we, about who's going to be the number 2 receiver here, and it was spread out between Lazard and Tunyon and Valdez-Scantling again. I must say, Valdez-Scantling caught a lovely 50-yard touchdown.
He was terrific.
Yeah, but
He was phenomenal, I thought.
yeah, but you want them to stay at that level. It appears that somebody goes up to that level and then drops down for a couple of weeks, but you want somebody to be consistently that number 2 to help this offense. But on the Bucks side of the ball, I have to say I thought it was a fairly clinical performance until he started throwing picks at the end, and then it got a bit questionable. But especially in the first half, I think at half time, me and you, Mikey, both just went, I don't think we're not going to win this game. We're not going to come back. It doesn't matter what happens.
Yeah, this the Bucks have had they were the best run D last season. They've been the best run D this season as well, but I don't think they've had the credit they deserve. I think people always talk about the other big D's in the league, like the Steelers and the Rams, things like that. But I mean, this team is just full of playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm just looking through the kind of defensive starters and who played well just on this game alone. Ndamukong Suh was phenomenal. Jason Pierre-Paul, Devin White, David, Shaq Barrett, and then Sean Murphy-Bunting. They have a lot of pieces who can individually make plays. I think Devin White, I think he's going to be my pick for Super Bowl MVP if the Bucks win it. I know there's all the politics of Brady and Mahomes will probably win it if one of them, if whoever wins the game. But I just think that this Devin White is a true leader on this team. I think he's only in his second or third season in the league, possibly second season. Yeah, just that's a scary, scary unit that's only going to get better for the next couple of years.
Yes, I totally agree. I think this Bucks team are very scary. They just needed the right QB in it, which obviously they have with Brady here. And do we think Brady's ever going to retire? Do you think he'll just continue just to be amazing until he's like 60, just sitting there?
What's the point? What's the point of retiring? Seriously, if he has a good old line and he can just sit in a pocket without getting hurt, he's not having to move much. Just seriously, as long as his arm stays young, he'll be absolutely fine.
Just wheel him out. Like you say, just absolutely stack the offensive line to literally create like an unbreakable pocket, and then you can put him in there in like a wee armchair or something like that, and just get him to throw wee passes.
What's the rules on a quarterback allowed to have a Zimmer frame with him? Is that are you allowed to have that in the pocket?
It wouldn't work very well in hurry up offense, would it?
It has to be registered as a player on the field, so really they're only allowed 10 players on the field plus the Zimmer. And it can't be an eligible player downfield as well, because then it'd be away from Tom Brady.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Nah, the Bucks, the number 5 seed this season going into the playoffs, but in my opinion now, after watching that game against who I thought was the best team in the NFC, I think the Bucks are fully deserved to go to the Super Bowl. And feels weird to say, very weird to say, but I will 100% be rooting for them in the Super Bowl. Because when your team gets beaten in a semi-final, as we call it over here, but in a championship game, you want to kind of say, oh, we were beaten by the eventual winners. We'll get to obviously the Chiefs and who we want to win later, but it's Tom Brady. Like you can't ignore his greatness, and I am weirdly for the first time in my life rooting for Tom Brady. I never thought I'd say that. I want him to win the Super Bowl this year.
Do you know that
with that comment, Mikey has just ruined the rest of the podcast for anyone sitting waiting to hear the results? Shocking, shocking.
Yeah,
but,
people wait weeks. People wait weeks to find out these results.
But an interesting statistic I found out, which I suppose isn't that hard to work out, but Tom Brady has now won the same number of NFC championships as Aaron Rodgers.
Yep, and Drew Brees.
Yeah.
And
no, they both won one each. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, not combined. In fact, there's someone else as well. Actually, I saw the exact same stat as you did.
I'm like, he's only been in the conference for a season. I mean,
NFC championships. Aaron Rodgers won, Drew Brees won, Tom Brady won. Years in the NFC, Tom Brady won, Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees 35.
I think we spoke about this before. If Tom Brady had just stayed in New England until he retired, say even he retired at the end of last season, like everyone would have said this man's the greatest of all time. There's no question. But and it wouldn't have even been that question in your head, in the back of your heads of, oh, but he never done it with another team. Some people might have said it, but not a lot. Let's be honest. And now he has went to another team. Let's be honest, the Bucks weren't Super Bowl contenders last year. I mean, Jameis Winston was in the 30 for 30 club. They had a decent run D, as we said, a good run D, but overall, not a championship winning team. Excuse me, but he's came into this team with only something to prove to himself, but a lot to lose. If he didn't make the playoffs this year, which was, I think I said it at one point in the podcast, I thought that the Vikings were going to sneak into the playoffs at the expense of the Bucks or the Cardinals. They almost didn't make the playoffs. They had a very good end to the season. And for him to come in and potentially win a Super Bowl in his first year in the NFC and his first year in a new team, if there wasn't any question before about who's the best of all time, I don't even think he needs to win this Super Bowl to already prove that him leaving the Patriots was completely justified. This guy is just, everybody says that Father Time's undefeated, but Tom Brady's doing a pretty good job, probably better than anyone against Father Time as it stands. Just unbelievable.
Yeah, I think this now moves from football. Like, there's no question he is the best
Athlete.
best footballer there has been of all time. No question. He now moves on to the sort of thing of you compare him to those in other sports, like a Michael Phelps in swimming. Like who is the greatest athlete of all time in terms of the sport they're doing? You know, like the debate goes on to like a Federer in tennis or a Michael Jordan or something like that in basketball.
There we
like
go.
Who is the best of those? You know, because,
sorry, I thought the first person you would have thought of there was Michael Jordan, not Michael Phelps.
The reason I said Michael Phelps is just because the reason for that is he's obviously the most decorated Olympian of all time. Phelps.
Aye. I know the reasoning behind it, but it just wasn't the first one that come to mind.
I was expecting that when he said Michael, I was expecting Jordan as well. Yeah,
but you know, someone who's just been like totally dominant, like you know, like they are definitely the best. Because I think you're right, Mikey. I think there was maybe. I think some people might have thought maybe it's the system. I know he's amazing, but a lot of people were still thinking, is it Brady or Belichick? Even before this season, they were like, what one of them was the mastermind? Clearly, it was Brady. You know, nothing against Belichick, but I think in the 7 or 8 seasons that Belichick hasn't had Brady, whether it be before Brady or the seasons he was injured, he's not made the playoffs. I don't think in any of them. I think he's had 6 losing seasons and one he didn't make the playoffs, something like that. It was like, clearly Brady is the answer to who is the
like you've kind of alluded to, Mikey. It would have been so easy for, and not just him, like other people have probably done it as well, to just sit there and see his career out and just he would have still retired with a great legacy. But he's proven a point to folk by going, you know what, I'm going to go elsewhere and I'm going to challenge myself again towards the end here and prove that it's me that makes me so good, not me sitting in a system where it complements me well and the team can win it for me. Now, obviously, you've got to give credit for the people around about him. There is not a hope in hell he's getting to the Super Bowl without the offense that he has, and obviously the defense coming up clutch. But I think I would be very interested to see what happens in the next couple of years on both these teams. Actually, to be fair, how long Brady stays there in Tampa, and obviously the situation with Rodgers and Green Bay. I think he's said that he's going to come back, but you know how quickly things can change.
The question I've got about Tom Brady, there's like a 99.999% chance it's never going to happen because not many players, apart from maybe good old Josh McCown, might become a head coach. But if Tom Brady became a head coach, how would you see him as a head coach? How do you think he would fare? Or do you think he needs to be on the field to do what he does best? Or do you think his mind is
as a head coach, he would end up being the head coach that just gets really frustrated by people being rubbish, and he would end up like standing behind them and doing it for them type thing.
I don't think he'd be a great head coach, to be honest. I think he'd be too much like, how come I could do this and you can't? You know, like I think he'd get far too frustrated. Yeah. I think his mind would be great for a head coach, but I think nothing against his personality, but I think his personality, he would be a lot more kind of frustrated than some of the head coaches are on the side of the field.
Aye. It's weird because you do see a lot in our football and soccer and in basketball, former players becoming head coaches, but it's not something you see in the NFL, if at all. I mean, even Sean McVay, like he played in college, but he never played in the NFL. You don't see many, if any, NFL stars end up becoming a head coach, and I'm not really sure what the reason for that is.
I think, and you might correct me if I'm wrong, I think, see, because they earn such ludicrous amounts of money playing football, that they basically get to the stage to finish playing football and they go, you know what, I don't need more money. And though I love the game, I much would rather love spending time with my family or, you know, sitting down, doing that, supporting whatever team, as opposed to, because a head coach's job is stressful in the NFL. Like that is, you know, basically 24 hours, 7 days a week. Like you're doing that the full year round. that's not like an easy job. We're over here
And you've also seen a
playing
lot.
soccer or something, like you've got a lot of like scouting teams and a lot of assistant coaches that are kind of basically day-to-day running, and you often see the manager and our teams just kind of be the kind of figurehead and not doing a lot of work. I think the head coach actually does quite a lot of work, and not only in the actual coaching but the running of the organisation as well in the NFL, and it seems like it's quite a laborious job, so I think that might be one of the reasons.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah, just keep saying to fill that really awkward space there where nobody said anything.
But yes, well done, Tom Brady, on winning your NFC championship.
Said through gritted teeth.
Yes, and
and also, as we say, first Super Bowl with a host team as well. Never before happened, and obviously Tom Brady gets that record as well.
Indeed. Hopefully, if the Buccaneers win the Super Bowl, then Mike Evans knows he has to go and get some type of presentation, because he didn't know for the championship game, did he?
Absolutely, everyone's celebrating him, and Mike Evans on Super Bowl Sundays just
walking up.
He's shoes and that on. He's away back in the bus. Nobody else here.
Do you not want your ring, Mike? No, I'm just sat in the bus.
He's like, oh yes. He's like, I get back in the bus. Wait, where is everyone? While they're all lifting the Lombard.
He's absolutely buzzing because he's got the back seats of the bus all to himself. Like, it's here first.
Right, we've went crazy here for the NFC Championship game. So let's move on to the AFC Championship game, which, as Mikey ruined it for everybody who hasn't yet seen the game, the Chiefs did win this game against the Buffalo Bills. No surprise here. The Chiefs went down early on, as they seem to always do, would you say, and almost all the time.
Do you think they do it as like a challenge to themselves? Like Andy Reid's like, right, let's just muck something up in the first couple of minutes. Let's make it harder for ourselves here.
No, this is they are doing what, and literally not just in terms of score lines, but they are doing literally the complete opposite of the Jets. The Jets always come out and score a touchdown first, but they only won 2 games this season. You know what I mean? And they've been terrible. Whereas the Chiefs come out and lose a touchdown early, but are probably potentially going to win back-to-back Super Bowls. So Jets, take note. If you head coaches, take note. That's what you should do. Go out to an early deficit, and then you'll win Super Bowls. It's as simple as that.
Simple as that. I think
that's
the Chiefs.
That's all you need to do.
I think the Chiefs are a better team
you don't need
from
to
behind.
Drop plays or anything. Yeah. Well, that's what on Good Morning Football, Kyle Brandt was saying. He was watching the game and it went to 9-0 to the Bills, and his wife came in, and obviously I think his wife knows that the Bills have been through a lot of struggles over the years, and she walked in and she said to Kyle Brandt, oh, the Bills are doing well, aren't they? That's good. And Kyle Brandt was like, no. He was like, that's the last thing that you want to do to the Kansas City Chiefs.
I get them angry.
You literally, it's the Chiefs in the first quarter are Bruce Banner, and in the final 3 quarters they're the Hulk. That's genuinely the best way to describe it. There's no, sorry Sean, you'll probably say that's spoilers because Sean hates a spoiler if he's listening to the podcast this week. But it's just typical Kansas City Chiefs. Like, oh, you punch us in the mouth, we're gonna come back swinging for the fences.
Yeah, what's crazy? I'm just looking at the statistics here for the Chiefs. They passed for 325 passing yards. 290 of those yards went to Kelsey and Hill. Of those 325, there's only
ridiculous
35 yards to other players. You'd have thought that teams would just start, doubling up both those players and just going.
See, the thing is with Tyreek Hill as well, and I had this discussion with Mikey and a couple of other people that I was speaking to, like post, and Mikey disagreed, I
understood it.
Right, so basically, what I think with Tyreek Hill now, if you compare him to all the other wide receivers in the league, clearly the biggest disadvantage he has is his height. He's not tall. He's not a big guy. He's a wee guy.
I agree.
And
that's factually accurate. He is a small man.
Factually true.
Yeah.
He is a very small man. That is my point. Move on. He's so much smaller than other receivers. So I think like defense is kind of not sleep on him because you know how good he is, but they try and eliminate they know the ball's not going to go really high for him to try and grab a contested catch. I don't think he's that caliber of receiver. He's just fast. He's just really quick. I don't think he's that good an out receiver.
Right. Okay.
I agree with kind
now,
of like,
now if you just ask who's like
Kyler Murray's throwing the Hail Mary to Tyreek Hill in that situation, and it's Tyreek Hill instead of Hopkins. He's not catching it. I understand that, and I understand that there's people.
Most wide receivers probably wouldn't catch that, to be fair. But
I think that Travis Kelce is the most. Not sure what the word I'm looking for. He can do everything. He's involved in the run game. He's involved in checkdowns. He can play long balls. He's probably the best yards after catch receiver in the NFL. Possibly
who are we talking about
I
here?
would go off and say because of Tyreek Hill.
You said Travis Kelce. I get really confused.
That confused me there.
Did I?
I get Travis Kelce involved in the check down. Get him involved in the run game.
Yeah, is involved in the run game. He's involved in checkdowns. He's involved in deep balls, yards after catch. As I said, I think he's one of the best ever in terms of yards after catch. And you can put that down to his speed. But yeah, I understand what Kai's saying, that there's a lot of balls that he wouldn't be able to catch, but they tailor make that offense for him so that
that's what I mean. That's kind of not the point. I was like, it's kind of what I was getting at. I wasn't really criticizing him as a receiver. I was just meaning like he isn't your classic big, tall wide receiver that you can throw the ball up to him and he'll contest the catch. But he's frighteningly good at getting the ball and just absolutely burning folk up.
Yeah, I may not put him in my top 5 wide receivers currently playing, but I think he's somewhere between 6 and 10 for sure, 100%. I think we've said we're going to do this in the off season, maybe a top 10 wide receivers for all three of us. But Tyreek's in the top 10, but I just don't think he's in that top 5. But again, that as we said, Andy Reid knows how to play with him. I don't think a lot of coaches would know how to play with Tyreek Hill. Andy Reid does, and Andy Reid utilises him in the most perfect way.
Yes, he changes at every play as well. You know how obviously like you're saying, it is involved in everything. One play he's going deep downfield to pull a corner away, and then the next play he's coming underneath, grabbing the ball and burning up 40 yards because nobody can get near him. Like that's what he's so good at. Is just the minute he gets the ball, he's past people. He's elusive. We'll call him that.
Do you think
very hard?
Do you think in a couple of years when Mecole Hardman will be better than him? Because I think Mecole Hardman's a very similar player, but maybe slightly taller.
If Mecole Hardman could hold on to the ball consistently, then yes.
Very true.
Juggling he's good at.
Because I've got to give. I would genuinely say, I know Kelce and Tyreek Hill and obviously Patrick Mahomes and a few other defensive players were great, but in my opinion, on the narrative of the game, he gets my player of the game because he made that fumble and you seen him on the sidelines. He was heartbroken. He was sitting on that bench thinking, I have cost my team a chance to make a second Super Bowl. You could tell on his face. And then he goes off for a 50-yard rush and then he scores a touchdown. And he also had a pretty big kickoff return as well for maybe 26 yards or something like that. I think the way that guy recovered mentally to put his team into a winning position was major props to him, because that fumble could have been the worst thing for him. But I think it was mainly down to the team around him. They were so quick to pick him up and tell him that there's still so much more of this game to play. But I thought he recovered phenomenally from that game, and fair play to him.
The faith of Mahomes as well, to obviously the touchdown that Hardman got, the faith of him to just go, you know what, here you go, here's your chance, I'm going to get the ball to you, and he held on to it well and obviously went in for the touchdown. Like, it would have been very easy for Mahomes to go, well, I've got Tyreek Hill, I've got Travis Kelce.
Exactly.
Travis Kelce, I've got, CAH at running back, stuff like, there's so many other options he had, but obviously to put the faith in Mecole Hardman and let him redeem himself is good. It's nice to see.
I
still don't like the Chiefs.
I think the props has to go to Andy Reid in that situation though, because I think you've seen many a head coach who, as soon as someone drops the ball, you're like, right, well that's you. You're not playing the rest of the game. Like, or as soon as they fumble, that's you. You're out.
Equanimous St. Brown ring any bells?
Yeah, hell not something. Yeah,
2-point conversion.
Yeah, but the head coaches you've seen in the past, they just go, sorry, you're not playing anymore. You've fumbled the ball. In fact, someone who does it quite a lot is Bruce Arians with the Bucks. That happened.
Numerous times,
especially with Rojo
with Ronald Jones.
Yeah, but I think it was good to see Andy Reid just went no, because it was almost straight away, wasn't it? The next play, they just went, right, we're giving you the ball.
It was the next drive and we're just they scored the touchdown and Hardman got it.
You're going to be the focal point here. You go and do something. You go and redeem it, and that's exactly what he did. So he gave up that touchdown, but he did also, go and get one back, which made a big difference in the game there. One thing which I was amazed with in this game is there was all the, CH is back, he's going to be great in the run game.
I was just about to
Yeah,
say that.
six attempts for 7 yards, and Darryl Williams is the lead running back again for the Chiefs, and this is the strangest thing I think I've ever seen.
I think CEH could become a very similar fantasy player to the likes of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, where there's no he's not got a high floor. He's got a very high ceiling, but he's completely boom or bust. He'll go off for 120 yards from scrimmage and 2 touchdowns in a game, or he'll go for 7 yards and 1 target for 1 reception for 3 yards. That I think that's one thing I really need to see from CEH, not in the Super Bowl. I'm talking about next season and years beyond, is he needs to improve his consistency in this league, because it's frankly it's not good enough at the minute. I was talking to, I think possibly Kai, I don't know if I said to you, Adam, I joined DraftKings for the first time. That's me plugging DraftKings on the pod.
Have they sponsored us? If not, we're going to bleep out the names. No one knows what it is.
Yep. And I was picking 6 players from the Bills Chiefs games, and I went with Williams because I thought he was going to get a lot more carries. It was almost as if the other Williams that played and should have had Super Bowl MVP last year, almost as if coming into the crunch time, the Williams brothers, even though they're not actually brothers, are the ones that they're heavily relying on. And I think, correct me, what's his first name? The one that's currently playing for the Chiefs?
Darryl. Yes.
Darryl Williams.
Yes.
Darryl Williams was undrafted as well a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah.
And now he's probably going to be depending on Le'Veon Bell's status, potentially going to be the lead back on a Super Bowl winning team for the Super Bowl. So yeah, fair play to him because he's answered the bell and he's done phenomenally over the past couple of games.
Yes, I must say he has, almost from nowhere, because you thought that, that's the reason they brought in CEH and they brought in Bell, because Damien Williams, obviously sitting out this year, and you thought, right, well, clearly they don't trust Darryl Williams here to be the lead back, and since CEH went down, Darryl Williams took most of the snaps from Bell. Bell hardly was doing anything, and now Bell was out this game and CEH was back, and you thought, all right, well, CEH will take the snaps. Nope, Darryl Williams again. Yeah.
Williams is a physical back as well. He gains hard earned yardage, I think, more so than obviously Bell and CEH. And then obviously the stat that we've spoken about as well, that Patrick Mahomes will now play in his second Super Bowl before ever losing an NFL game by more than 1 possession. The last time Mahomes lost by more than a possession was November 19th, 2016 versus Iowa State when he played for Texas Tech. That's
ridiculous.
Unheard of statistic.
Insanity.
Unheard of.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
See, to go back to the running back scenario, I just kind of kept myself quiet there while you were talking and did a wee bit of searching to find out what the story was.
Because obviously, research professionalism from Kai. What? No, that's not in this podcast.
Because obviously, come the start of next season, there's the potential that they could have CEH, Le'Veon Bell, Darryl Williams, Damien Williams, like all sitting there. So I was like, I did a
probably draft Najee Harris as well.
Aye, they just absolute stack them up. So I went and checked. At the end of this season, Darryl Williams becomes a restricted free agent. So obviously the Chiefs have first refusal on him.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's free to go and contact whoever he wishes. Damien Williams is still under contract, but becomes a free agent next year. Yeah. So the end of the season 2021, and then obviously Le'Veon Bell's he was only on a 1-year contract.
Yeah, he's away at the end of this contract.
So he would be away. So potentially they could go into next season with just CEH, Damien Williams out of those 4.
What would be actually good is if they kept both Williams though. That would be good. CEH and both Williams, that'd be a good backfield.
I think
that would be better than having Bell.
Yeah, I think even a Super Bowl MVP for Le'Veon Bell isn't enough for Bell to be at the Chiefs next year.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that can be done now after what's happened this year. I'm not saying he's bad. He's just, and as I said, I don't think the Chiefs will regret it because I think he'll be a very good role model for CEH. So I think no matter what happens with him, even if they don't win the Super Bowl, I think the Bell signing will prove beneficial down the line because of CEH. But if they manage to keep both the Williams, which will be very confusing to watch, and especially if you're a fantasy owner of one of them as well, because you think, oh yes, Williams touchdown, and then you realise it's the other one.
It was.
I
Do
think
you not remember the play last year when one of the Williams ran for a touchdown and the other Williams was running behind him? It was either
I don't
Damien or
remember that,
Darrell
no.
broke through and ran about 70 yards, and they're like, and it's Williams, and the other Williams is running behind him, and he's going 70 yards, and the commentator was like, I don't know what one's what here.
Yeah, if they keep both the Williams in CEH, or keep one of the Williams CEH and then bring in another, maybe a veteran or something, I think that's more than they need, especially with how pass heavy they are as well.
Yeah, definitely. You know who could do with some help in the running game, though? It's the Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo.
Exactly. Josh Allen, yet again, the lead rusher with 88 of the 129 rushing yards. Devin Singletary averaging 2.8 a carry. TJ Yeldon, who's normally a pass catching back, had 5 yards a carry, which is okay. But yeah, they could do with some running help. The passing game.
How does Le'Veon Bell sound at the Bills?
You know who I was thinking, who we were talking about earlier, who's probably going to get drafted in about the position that Bills have a spot, is Najee Harris. He would be a good Buffalo Bills running back. Big, physical specimen in the cold weather in Buffalo. He could do some damage in that team.
That could potentially be what almost like completes the jigsaw a bit here, because I feel like at times the Bills have kind of come unstuck when they've not been able to have joy passing the ball. They're not able to switch it up. Josh Allen's obviously, like you say, having to do a lot of the work, and even with Devin Singletary and Zach Moss together, it was kind of a weird scenario where Zach Moss got a lot of the carries on the goal line and round about the red zone, but Devin Singletary wasn't the most efficient.
I think against the Ravens, they didn't run the ball until like the 2-minute warning in the first half or something like that.
Yeah,
that's why that was so intriguing, because you're like, well, they can't keep doing this.
Yeah. So all I'll say is, whether it's Najee Harris or not, if you think you're going to get drafted by the Buffalo Bills, start your own charity, because as soon as you're drafted, they're just going to throw money at you. That's all Bills fans do. They've got no houses of that. They all live in the streets. They just donate all their money away to charity. They'll probably end up, it's going to be a vicious cycle. They'll end up going to get their own donations to themselves, because they're giving so much money away, they're going to have nothing for themselves.
You know who could perhaps have done with some charity, possibly, for the last, 4 weeks, would be Cole Beasley, who it since turned out has been playing with a broken fibula since week 16.
Yeah.
I know we've obviously given the guy so much credit this season, and I think a lot of people have, because he has been phenomenal. Like, Stephon Diggs will take the limelight as the receiver there, but Cole Beasley has been by far the best wide receiver 2 in the league, I would say. He's just so consistently good. He'll always play for you. And then to top that off by the fact that he was playing with a partially broken leg for the last 4 weeks.
Yes, for anyone that's not a huge medical expert, the tibia is your shin bone, and the fibula is kind of attached to that shin bone. It's not a huge weight-bearing bone. It's mainly the tibia that does that, but still, it is the bone in your leg, and it was broken.
I meant to say to Kai, because it went unnoticed in our podcast group chat, his first message was like very emotional and very like, oh my God. So he was like, no way, Cole Beasley broke his fibula last night in the game he played, and he played through it, and then loads of laughing faces. And then it's almost as if you weren't impressed at the fact he did it for more than one game, because his next message was, okay, it wasn't actually last night it happened. He's been playing through it since week 16. Even more impressive. Like, so mundane. You'd think it'd be the other way around.
It was more shock, because I was like, because you saw he went out injured at one point, and he looked in a lot of pain. It was kind of towards the tail end of this game. He was in a lot of pain, like he was rolling about on the floor at the side of the field, and he limped off quite quickly. So when it said he was playing through a broken fibula, I was like, God, that's impressive. He's managed to do that at one point last night. But it was just it was more shock more than anything to say, oh, but by the way, actually, he's had that broken fibula since week 16. And then everything kind of started to make sense, because there was a number of occasions in those games where he was in and out, and he was limping about, and he was still catching balls. And aye, he's a very, very good receiver. He's a very good option, actually, for the Bills to have. And as Mikey highlighted to me the other day, he can also spit bars, as they would say in America.
He's a very good
is that
rapper.
What the young people say?
Very good rapper.
Oh my, aye, he can. I also totally forgot he played for the Cowboys before now.
Yes, he did. He was a lovely
That's
slot
why
receiver.
that's why I refuse to recognise him as a good player.
Talking about good players, see for the future. See, I know Gabriel Davis didn't have any catches in this game, but just watching him as a receiver for this Bills team, the rookie wide receiver, I think, to be honest, I don't know the contract situation with John Brown. I need to research that further for some of our off-season podcasts and stuff. But I think Davis could easily become that second outside receiver. So you've got Diggs and Davis on the outside and Beasley in the slot, and I think alongside Dawson Knox there as well, and a decent running game if they can get one going, whether it be with the current running backs or a new one. This Bills team are here to stay. If you were asking like Super Bowl windows and stuff like that of these four teams, obviously the Chiefs window's still open. The Bucks window I would say is open as long as Brady's there. You know, with their team, the Bills well and truly open. To be honest, out of the four teams that are here, I think the Packers window is the one that's starting to close.
I think it's closing quite quickly as well.
We have very minimal cap space, and we also have got a lot of big players that are needing re-signed. There's a lot of talk of fans that are saying, will Aaron Rodgers take a new deconstructed deal to take less money to bring in more players to help him?
No.
These aren't questions you want as a Packers fan. And I think I screenshotted it as well because I knew we would end up speaking about this. Also, their schedule next year, which we've spoken about, is not kind. Obviously, we play the Bears, Lions, and Vikings twice. But then at home, we also play the Browns, the Rams, the Steelers, the Seahawks, and Washington. And then away, we play the Cardinals, Ravens, Bengals, Saints, and 49ers. That is a incredibly tough schedule.
So is that the NFC, the NFC West, the AFC North, and then obviously our divisional matchups?
Yeah. So we've been 13-3 the last two seasons. I think some players will be
13 this season.
Yeah, and I think we'll be hard done by because if some of the players, there's a lot of players that are needing re-signed. There's talks about bringing JJ Watt in, but he's going to be a lot. It's going to take up a lot of money. So a very difficult crossroads the Packers are at just now. Very difficult.
I agree. I think so. But well done to the Chiefs getting to the Super Bowl. Well done to the Buccaneers getting to the Super Bowl, which is now just over a week's time now. We're recording this on the Thursday. Well, that's how I said that through gritted teeth. I was like, well done. Getting there. We definitely don't want to get there.
Seen it in your face,
yeah. We normally do our prediction-y thing and stuff like that, but I thought for the next couple of minutes we could change it up slightly. And there's been a lot of news that's went on this week, and I thought because we only had a couple of games to talk about, we could maybe talk about some of the news and maybe our opinions on it, because the quarterback and head coach carousel continues. Opinion. I don't know how many teams are going to have the same quarterback next season as they have this year. I think it was Adam Schefter that put up on Twitter that his line for the number of teams that have a new quarterback is 18. That's where his betting line's going to be, and he's going to bet the over. So he's predicting more than 18 teams will have a different starting QB next season than they have at the moment, which is crazy because that carousel has started.
There's also rumours from Ian Rappaport as well that his quote is about a third of the NFL have reached out for Matthew Stafford. That
does not surprise me.
That's a lot of teams.
Yeah, let's start talking. 10 teams. Let's start talking about that one then. Matthew Stafford and the Detroit Lions have come to an agreement that they're going to let him go. They'll accept trade offers for him. I mean, I think we've talked about this before in the pod. If not in the pod, then privately. Matthew Stafford is very easily a playoff quality quarterback. I think to be honest, I think he's got enough quality to win a Super Bowl had he had the right team around him. He was obviously drafted in 2009 for the Lions, and he's not really had that Super Bowl caliber roster around him. He could go to somewhere with that, and I think it could be that missing piece to help a team win a Super Bowl. And my prediction for that, I think I said to you, was the Colts. They've got more than enough cap space, and they've got a great roster, and I think that'd be a great fit for Stafford, in my opinion.
I'm also, because I think he also is a very younger, similar player to Philip Rivers.
Yeah,
I think a lot of his playing style is very similar, and Philip Rivers did a terrific job. I think lost in the wildcard game. If in one season he can get them to the divisional round, and then who knows what happens from there. You've seen it, and you've seen the playoff upsets over the years, time and time again. And I don't even think it would be an upset if Stafford led the Colts to a Super Bowl. I really don't. That's how high I am on Matthew Stafford. I really do believe that.
Yes, I think there's lots of places it could go, but I think Stafford is an interesting one to go. Obviously,
Yeah.
on you go, Mikey.
And it's just I've got a list of some of the quarterbacks here.
Yes,
to see
work your way through the
thought.
list then. That's fine, because I was trying to think of them off the top of my head, and I was almost certain I was going to miss
Okay.
one.
So Cam Newton.
Not going to be in New England, in my opinion, and I don't know where he's going to be.
I have no idea where he'll end up.
No.
Does Cam Newton end up without a team?
What about Washington?
There's talk obviously going to Washington, I should say, to go with Ron Rivera. I'm not sure if that would happen, to be honest, because they've still got Alex Smith under contract, don't they?
I believe the Panthers GM that was fired or was they parted ways with has now become the GM of Washington as well, with Ron Rivera as head coach. Why not just bring Greg Olsen back as well for Washington and just bring Panthers 2.0?
He'll definitely not get Greg Olsen back because he retired last week.
Yeah, Jameis Winston.
Steve Smith, will we bring him to the Washington team as well? And who else? McCaffrey? Do you think you can get him out of the contract to move him to Washington? No, they've got Tony Gibbs and they don't need
Jameis Winston.
I think he stays at the Saints. I think he takes over on offense. I don't think that's the right idea, but you saw Drew Brees after the game the other week saying this is your offense now. I think they'll keep him.
I'm not sure what his contract situation is. Has he got to sign a new one, or does he have another year on it? Because the Saints are well over the salary cap, because this coming season they've actually dropped the salary cap down because of our current health crisis that's occurring on the planet. I'll try and keep those horrible words out of the podcast.
Don't say it.
But I think they've dropped it by about $20 million the cap. So any teams that's above it, obviously they can't sign more players. They can still pay the folk that they're currently paying because they didn't know it was going to drop, but they can't sign more.
He is out of contract.
I don't know if they can afford to pay him then.
He only signed a 1 year contract for 2020.
The question is, if you're bringing in another quarterback, are you going to be paying more than you would for Jameis Winston? And is that quarterback going to be any better? I think with a year under Drew Brees, I think they stick with him.
What I mean is, though, financially, I don't think they can bring him in, because if they're over the salary cap, then they can't actually sign him. Like, financially, they're not allowed to. So I think it might be Taysom Hill's offense if he's still under contract.
Okay, next one. This is actually a surprisingly interesting one. Jacoby Brissett.
I think he is an NFL caliber quarterback. I don't think he's a star quarterback, but I think he can definitely be a bottom half level QB. He's better than some people.
How about a return to New England?
That did cross my mind. I must say that did cross my mind.
I like the sound of that.
Would he want to go and play in such a tough division, though? Because that division is getting quite tough.
Yeah, that's true.
Would he want to play in such a bad team? More to the point.
Yeah, that's also true.
And these are some of the more intriguing situations. Dak Prescott.
Now, I would have said at the start of this season he would be re-signed by the Cowboys. But they've spent a lot of money, and he also got injured, and they almost got to the playoffs without him. So I'm not sure, is my sitting on the fence answer.
See, there's been
I think there's a lot of things. Yeah, I was going to say, I think a lot of things will happen first before Dak Prescott. There's any moves on Prescott. I think there's other things that will happen, like quarterbacks being re-signed or quarterbacks moving elsewhere before Dak Prescott then finds an opportunity, because I think it will,
Andy Dalton's out of contract as well, so they don't actually have one of their two starting QBs, do they?
These four are they're more than likely going to stay at their teams, but it could be very interesting if they were to leave. So, Ryan Fitzpatrick, think he re-signs with the Dolphins?
I'm not sure.
I don't know where else he would go.
Only if they keep...
Or do you think he goes to his 43rd NFL team?
I think he stays if they keep Tua. I think him and Tua have got quite a good relationship. So. But I know there's been rumours that the Dolphins aren't going to keep Tua.
Couple more. Aaron Rodgers stays in Green Bay?
Yep.
I think so.
Yeah, financially.
There was obviously an early... I think he should stay. I think the Bears
I think Trubisky will
keep
resign.
Yeah. I don't think they will, Trubisky. I don't think they'll resign him. They didn't take up the 5th year option.
the one that remains on everybody's mind, probably the biggest one of all the quarterbacks moving this year, Deshaun Watson.
This is really intriguing because
he's gone for a start. He's not staying in Texans.
He's not staying in Texans.
In Houston.
Yes.
Especially after the announcement of one of the worst offensive coordinators ever to become the head coach last night.
I think it's 49ers a shout. I've heard rumours of that.
I think 49ers is the best fit. But apparently he's interested in the Jets because of, I keep calling him Mohamed Salah, but Robert Salah becoming the new head coach there. Just because they've got the same second name.
I think it would be exciting to see him at the Jets.
I don't think the Jets, and I know it sounds stupid that I don't think the Jets would want Deshaun Watson. Anyone would want Deshaun Watson. But have the Jets not said that they're happy to keep going with Darnold?
Stick with Darnold.
Yeah. I think I would hate for him to go to the 49ers because they are automatic Super Bowl contenders. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. That run game plus Deshaun Watson and
plus the Deebo Samuel. What's that?
Brandon Ayuk.
Yep. There's a lot of
our last potential. What do you think the percentage is of Deshaun Watson playing week 1 for the Houston Texans?
0.
I would give it a little bit more than that. I would give it 10%. not a lot more, but a little bit more.
Wow. I would give it 65%.
Do you think?
What? I see it over the years.
I think he's in a big.
You see it over the years with unhappy quarterbacks having to stay another year or something. I just think there's so many things that have happened to the Texans though since he said that as well. Oh, I want him to leave. He deserves to leave. He can't waste these years of his career. But you've seen it happen with people demanding too much for their star player and not being able to facilitate a trade. I'll be gutted if he doesn't leave because he deserves to.
Can I ask?
He deserves to light up the NFL.
Mikey, how you worded that question again? Could you word it exactly how you worded it?
What percentage do you think he has of staying? How likely is he to stay at the Houston Texans?
In which case, my answer is a much larger percentage. I would say about 70%. What is the percentage chance that he is starting week 1? I say 10%.
I think that's what.
Okay.
Because I think even if he doesn't trade, I think he might just say, I'm not playing.
He puts the Texans in a position, well, you've not facilitated the trade for me. There you go, I'm not playing for you.
Personally, I think it's very unlikely that he's playing for the Texans week 1. But there's a higher chance, I agree with you, that he's on the roster because they can't facilitate that trade. I agree with you, Mikey.
I have just not so much one to add to the list, but one that came out this week that kind of surprised me a wee bit was on the Rams, that apparently between John Wolford and Jared Goff, they're going to have an open QB competition at some point in the off-season.
Well, because of you, both the head coach, obviously, Sean McVay, has said that Goff is our quarterback for just now. And it's either it's the GM that also came out and says, at the moment, Goff is our quarterback. And I was doing
it's all very, not very solid.
I was doing some research on this, and actually I've got to give some dues to Colin Coward on Fox Sports, who talked about this as well. He had him looking back at previous times where statements like this were announced, and it's normally for quarterbacks that maybe aren't training hard enough, or there's something behind the scenes that isn't going on. So like it happened with Dwayne Haskins, and then he's magically away. They obviously weren't happy. It's happened in the past with Aaron Rodgers with head coaches and stuff as well. They know that like there were a bit of a huff, those rumours and stuff, and then but that's mainly because Rodgers is a bit huffy. From what I've heard through this and other channels that I've been looking at, is that it's a lot to do with the fact they've paid Jared Goff quite a lot of money. Like they signed him up to a contract early after that Super Bowl. That Super Bowl game, not the win of the Super Bowl, but the attendance to the Super Bowl for the team. And I think a lot of it's like, turns out he's not actually worth this money. So they've spoken to an agent. This is the rumour. They've spoken to an agent and went, let's try and restructure this deal. And the agent just went, no, we like this money. Thanks, bye. And they're just like, right then, so how do we get out this? So
what do we do with him?
They're kind of leaving their options open. I think if he gets cut this after June or something like that, there's a point in June, it's not a huge cap hit. Even though it's worth a lot of money, they still have to pay him money, but the actual cap hit's not huge. So there's a chance that they come. But yeah, it's interesting.
let's be completely serious. Why would you want to lose out on a Super Bowl caliber, MVP caliber quarterback like John Wolford?
No, that's very true. Yeah, that's very true. I mean, the thing
So
is, though,
let's just think about it that way.
Goff's able to beat the teams in his division with a broken thumb, though. Like, he beat the Seahawks very easily with half a hand. So why would you want to get rid of Goff?
True. I think I'd like to see them both. That's the thing. Heineke and Wolford are the NFL starting quarterbacks.
I would like Heineke to be a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
I would like Wolford as well. I quite like PJ Walker. I'd like him to be a starting quarterback as well. We need the way he played his backup for the Panthers. Not Minshew.
No.
Minshew's gone. I think Minshew. Do you think he even stays on the team?
I don't think he deserves to after that haircut he's got at the moment. By the way,
that's a question.
What did he call it? The mud flat.
Mud flat.
Good God.
The Mississippi mud.
Yeah.
See, you can do that when you're a good player. See when you rock up with that and you're mince.
No, I was trying to work out, was he actually trying to get his hairstyle similar to Trevor Lawrence? Was that what his aim was? So hopefully maybe they get confused with each other and maybe he gets to play.
I don't think they would get too confused when he started playing, to be fair.
No, exactly.
Very quickly suss out who was who.
Very true. I quite enjoyed that little chat about what could be happening. My prediction...
We'll do a full podcast on that.
Is that my prediction that I'm very confident with is Stafford the Colts. I think that's going to happen, in my opinion. I'd be surprised if it didn't.
I think that will happen early, and I think that will start the QB roundabout.
Roundabout? I like saying merry-go-round.
Roundabout, merry-go-round. They're all round.
Merry-go-round's more hopping on, hopping off, isn't it? Or carousel. I think that's more of an American way to say it. But yeah, I like that little bit. We might do that more often, talking about that. Certainly throughout the off-season, we can our podcast can be more debate-like as opposed to factual information based on the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Buffalo Bills quite easily. Sorry, Kai.
Yeah.
I know that you're...
We barely even spoke about the Bills, to be fair. So
aye, exactly.
I think that says all you need to know.
Yeah. Let's have a look then. What do we normally do here? We normally talk about...
We do a prediction.
A prediction, yeah. So it's hard to do this. So have you got this right, Mikey, this time? I know it's hard. There's two teams in the Super Bowl. Have you got the right two teams in the Super Bowl?
Packers are in it. In my head, the Packers are in it.
Packers Bills? Is that the one we wanted? Is that the one we actually wanted?
Aye.
Packers Jags.
Yeah. The way the Packers played against the Jags toward the end of the season, I wouldn't be so confident. But yes, so obviously the Bucks play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks' time. This is a very, very early prediction for it. But what do we think for that? Normally, Mikey has to answer last, so we can ask Mikey first. Mikey, Bucks playing a home Super Bowl against the Chiefs. What do you think?
I'll just say since week 8, since we started doing this, we have never had a Chiefs Bucks Super Bowl.
Can I say that that's mainly down to the two of you, because I have been an advocate of the Bucks for quite a long time in these predictions, and normally
have we even had the Bucks in the Super Bowl
last week?
Right.
Last week. Also Tony Romo said in week 12, I think, after they played each other, that he thought this was going to be the Super Bowl matchup. And also, again, just because I love Good Morning Football so much, Nate Burleson, when they were doing their pre-season predictions, he said it would be a Chiefs Bucks Super Bowl with a Chiefs win. So that'll be very interesting to see. They're calling him Nate Stradamus, or what is it called, Tony Romo? Romo Stradamus?
Romostradamus, something like that, yeah.
Something like that. So Chiefs Bucks, I can't bet against Tom Brady in a Super Bowl. I'm going with the Bucks. I can't. I could go into detail and I could pick it apart with the Chiefs and how good they are, but I cannot bet against Tom Brady ever again.
I'll give you two here. Who'd I want to win? The Bucks.
Oh, that's not the game. That's not the game.
I think the Chiefs will win.
You think the Chiefs will win?
Yeah, I would rather see the Bucks win because I don't like the Chiefs, but I just feel like the Chiefs have been inevitable.
I think that the Bucks will win. That's my prediction. I think the Bucks are going to win. Me and Mike here are agreeing. Is it maybe more to do with the fact that they beat the Packers, so we just want?
I think that's a way of like comforting yourself. Yeah. You're like, right, okay, the Bucks.
I think it's the same. Like my heart says Bucks. My chief says.
My chief says heart.
That sounds like a country song. My chief says heart.
If you break my
Oh.
heart,
Says
my Chief says my heart. There we go. That Billy Ray
But
Cyrus.
yeah, I can't bet against Tom. Although we also what week did we start this podcast?
Week
Week
3.
Week 3, and I think Kai, you wrote in what we all predicted for the Super Bowl
Aye,
back then, didn't we?
so I had right at the end of that podcast, we did a prediction on who we thought would make the Super Bowl. I had
I've got
Bills
it.
Seahawks, so I was not far off it with the Bills, but Seahawks are miles off it.
Both-
Adam
both-
had
Both playoff teams, Kai. Both playoff
Yep.
teams.
you had. Did you have Packers Colts?
I think I had
Adam.
Packers, Colts,
Colts,
my
Packers, yeah.
NFC team and my AFC team playing against each
Both,
other.
and Mikey, you had the Chiefs and the Seahawks.
Chiefs and Seahawks, yeah.
So Mikey is the
So,
only one out of the
I'm-
three of us who's picked one team to get to the Super
To be
Bowl.
fair, we've done not a bad
And,
job.
yeah, I
we
mean,
all
it was
picked
really-
playoff teams.
It was really difficult. It was really difficult picking the team that won the Super Bowl last year. You've got
Aye.
to give loads of credit to me. That was
Aye.
probably my most outlandish claim of them all.
At least me and
Chiefs
Adam went out
went
on a limb and went, you know what, we'll pick a team that might actually be an outside shot.
Week
Um,
three, week 3 was when the Chiefs were 3-0 and Russell Wilson was looking like the MVP. So I've just went, Chiefs Seahawks then. I just call it that.
Aye.
But
Thinking
yes,
outside the box.
Mikey, do you have our predictions ready? I can do our 2-minute warning from our last two games to see what the
Oh,
scores
yeah.
and our prediction.
Yeah, I was
league
going
is.
to say we would all just say what we went with. Yeah.
Okay, well I'll blow this whistle. I do this by myself, I don't even have a sound for it. I actually physically blow a whistle and then it
Steady.
makes a noise. I behave. There we go. So that is us at our 2-minute warning. We get to talk about who we picked to win these games and see how it's done for our playoff prediction league. Obviously, Mikey was our winner of the regular season, but we're now getting into the important bit, being the playoff predictions. I think it was very close. It was not just one prediction in between everybody after last week.
I think yours were both on 7. I was on 6.
Yes, it was very
Yeah.
close indeed. I think we worked out that just me or Kai had to just win out, and we would we would have won
Well,
easily.
I had
Easier
an
said
absolute
than done.
Yeah.
stormer. I had a stormer this weekend, so
So who did you pick, Mikey? Who did you
We'll just-
pick?
I picked the Buffalo Bills and the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, that's a big 0.
Adam, who did you pick?
I believe I picked the Buccaneers. And I also picked the Bills.
Yep.
So I got one
I
out of 2.
I picked the Buffalo Bills and the Green Bay Packers, so I got a big fat 0 as well.
Oh, why does anyone
Right,
listen to this
so-
podcast?
It goes. I'm on 6 points. Kai on 7. Adam on 8. So it's between.
Mikey's out the running.
Between Adam and Kai, unless I pick the exact scoreline, then I win.
That's the way we need to do the tiebreaker. That's it. So we pick a team, and if it ends up being a draw, i.e. Kai gets it right and I get it wrong, then the closest total points scored in the game. There we go. That can be the tiebreaker.
Total points.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the score is going to be 51-50 on a last minute. The Bucks. Tom Brady reunites with Adam Vinatieri, and he comes in from retirement and scores a last-minute field goal.
Sorry, I was thinking Gronk because they're at least playing in the same team. Adam Vinatieri was a bit out there.
No, I think a more likely thing would be the last minute of the game, last second of the game, own 20-yard line. Tom Brady has the ball and doesn't throw. Instead, he scrambles 80 yards up the field, takes a heart attack as he gets into the end zone because of all that physical exertion, and eventually wins it as he dies into the end zone, and he's won that Super Bowl. That's more
I think
likely.
this was going a bit wild today.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Got a bit crazy, but yes.
I think more likely it becomes one of the most boring Super Bowls ever, and the Chiefs win by I don't know, a score.
I would talk like a 13-3 or something that we
Aye,
had in the past.
aye.
Fun. Yeah.
No, I don't think I ain't
It's been
got
a
the
while
high
since
scoring.
Tom Brady. It's been a while since Tom Brady was involved in a 13-3 Super Bowl.
Aye.
2 years.
Yeah,
3
that was
years.
the one against the Rams, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who?
Most scored Super Bowl of all time. I was sitting in Hawaii in a big, massive Super Bowl party pub watching it, and everyone was bored to death.
Yeah,
bored completely.
you want points. Even if you don't get points, you want interceptions because then it at least causes drama and excitement, So
Just exciting things that happen, even if it's
Exactly.
not points, just things, streakers.
aye, exactly. Talking about interceptions, by the way, just before we finish up today, do you know that half of Patrick Mahomes' interceptions this season have come in that game against the Dolphins?
Aye,
Like he had
mad.
he had 3 in that game, and out of his 6 for the season or something like that, they were all like half of them were in that game, which is crazy in my opinion, absolutely crazy. But yeah, so I went Bucks. Did you end up going Bucks, Kai, for the Super
No,
Bowl?
I'm going
You're
Chiefs.
going Chiefs, so that's opposite, and Mikey's going
I'm
Bucks
just doing
as
that
well.
so that there's a chance the predictions change.
Yeah, exactly right. If it changes, we'll let everyone know. But Bucks and Bucks for the 2 Packers fans, and Chiefs for
The Eagles
for
fan.
the Eagles. Yes.
I've always been a Tom Brady fan over Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly. We'll finish up there then. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Kai and Mikey, for joining as always.
Pleasure.
Yes. And we'll see you in the next one. See you then.
Adios.